Welcome to Ghost Education 101, where curiosity meets experience and the doors to the entire paranormal landscape are finally open. Hosted by Dr. Heather Lee and Dr. Tiffany Frazier, this series is built for everyone who wants to understand the unexplained the right way. Whether you're just stepping into the unknown or you've been investigating for years, this is the place where you can sharpen your approach, deepen your understanding, and cut through the misconceptions that have overrun this field for far too long. Each episode walks you through the full spectrum of paranormal activity, classic hauntings, intelligent spirits, cryptids, elemental beings, poltergeist phenomena, and the modern challenges investigators face today. We break it all down. The science, the method, and the mystery, without dumbing it down and without drifting into theatrics. Grounded in research, history, and real-world investigation, Ghost Education 101 is your classroom, your laboratory, and your gateway into the most compelling unexplained experiences on record. Learn, question, discover. Welcome to Ghost Education 101. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Heather Lee and Dr. Tiffany Frazier.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us again over here at Ghost Education 101. I am one of your hosts, Tiffany Frazier, and you'll notice Heather is not here tonight. She is having some health issues. She's super bummed that she can't be on, but I told her that she needed to get herself in bed and rest. So that is where she is tonight. She is resting, and hopefully she will be back with us next week. But we have a super exciting show to share with all of you tonight. We are doing cryptids and mythical creatures, and we have 4 guests who are going to join us tonight. I'm going to bring them on. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Living the dream.
Awesome.
Good.
Well, I am really excited to have this conversation with you guys. I only came on the show in October, so I'm still fairly new as a co-host here, and this is a topic we haven't done yet, so I'm really excited. So let's just start and go around and have each one of you introduce yourselves and tell us what you do and also how you got started in the paranormal field. And start with let's just go around. Let's start with Bobby.
All right. Well, I was pretty much born and raised into it. Both my parents were ministers in spiritualist religion. So speaking with spirit and dealing with spirit was like normal. And it wasn't until probably about 6 years ago I came out publicly and started working with a team and working on my abilities to better hone in my psychic abilities.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Awesome. And how about Julie? Oh, Julie's muted. Hold on. We can't hear you. Can you hear us? You can. Oh, no. This seems to happen sometimes. Let's see. Can everybody else hear?
Nope.
I hear you, but I can't hear her.
Okay.
I hear
let's
you.
See.
Nope.
Okay, good. So Julie hears us, but we can't hear you. Usually what happens, and I don't know why this is, but if you log out and then come back in, it seems to fix the problem. Okay, I'm so sorry. I know we've been in contact. She will. She's going to be right back. I know we've been in contact with StreamYard to figure out why that keeps happening when we have multiple guests on. Okay.
I've noticed with my show, if they're coming in off an iPad or an iPhone, sometimes they'll act up.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's good to keep in mind. Thank you. Awesome. Brad, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, let's see. I've been 5 days. No, I'm just joking. Basically, I was a chemist for Union Carbide and then in Dow Chemical Corporation for several years. And then we moved out here to Virginia Ooh, I like the dog.
Yep, that's
But,
Robbie.
But we moved out here to Virginia, and I started working for state government doing various things. I'm also a certified video engineer, and I basically went to an inn. You may have heard this story, Tiffany, up in New Hampshire that was owned by Jason and Grant from Ghost Hunters way back in 2010, and I was like, massive skeptic. You got to show me that. It's got to hit me in the face. So I went out there and it hit me in the face. So Jason and Grant got me hooked up with the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation, and I came on board as a tech person, and then they made me the research director a couple of years later. And that's kind of what I do, and that's how I got involved in it. And I just saw some stuff I couldn't explain. It's like, I got to know what the heck that is. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's why most of us get into this field, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's why I did. So. And Carl, how about you?
So yeah, so when I was about 5 years old, I actually had a near-death experience, and after that point, I was very open to a lot of things, including the fact that I lived in a house that was haunted as a kid, and later on moved down to Arizona. But I always had an interest in trying to figure out exactly what was going on, and I'm a software consultant and data analyst, and so I do a lot of everything I do, I approach scientifically. So back in 2000, after my dad died in 1978, I ended up doing a lot of hiking and camping all over Arizona, and a lot of weird things happened, including in 1982. I had two friends with me. We were on the far side of a lake up in the mountains of Arizona, and had something howl incredibly loud at us. In fact, of course, at that time there was no such thing as a subwoofer, but if you had strapped a woofer onto my chest, that's how close it was. It was just you could just feel and it was loud enough that the three of us piled out of the tent at 3 a.m. in the morning and trying to figure out, should we just try to paddle across the lake in the dark or what to do. And but fast forward to 2008, I'm sitting on the couch with my son and watching TV, and a Messing with Sasquatch commercial came on, and I laughed my ass off at it because it was hilarious, because it was the hitchhiking version where the they're saying, "Hey buddy, want to ride?" And then they kept pulling the car forward, and finally the Sasquatch takes the guy out of the car. Well, I laughed. My son didn't, and he's 16. And I was like, seriously, why didn't you laugh? And he's like, well, it's not real. It's not founded in reality. Therefore, it's not funny. And I'm like, seriously, you're 16 years old. Are you not that jaded? I said, now, how do you know they're not real? And that kind of began a quest, which ended up with myself and him at a Bigfoot research organization outing up in Arizona that was actually led by Matt Moneymaker, and and on that very first night, Matt did a howl from a ridgeline between two canyons, and from our vantage point on the west side of that location, three howls came back from three separate directions. You could tell they were separate distances. The timing was different, and and it was and honestly, that was the exact same howl I heard back in 1982. So at that point, just like you mentioned, I had to figure out exactly what's going on with that. But I've had experiences in many fields throughout my life. So over to you,
Julie. I think we can hear you now.
Good.
Yes.
I think when you put me out, I couldn't come back in. So anyway, hi everyone. I'm Julie Adriani. I am from Chicago, but I now live in the Fox Lake, Illinois area, which is full of ferries, vortexes, and just over the border, there's lots of in Lake Delavan, there's lots of mystical creatures, and there's even Bigfoot forest. So we have a lot of cryptids around here, but even in the property here, I'm on the lake. There have been fairy rings that come up, and I believe that these elementals help me with my work because I'm a psychic medium, but I also do physical mediumship. In physical mediumship, there's levitation, there's apports, there's transfiguration, and these air beings and these elementals help a lot with things in physical mediumship. Mm-hmm. I started seeing spirit when I was 3 and interacting, and they've just been part of my life. And I have a lot of telekinetic energy, so levitation, things opening, lights going on and off have always been part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, we have a couple questions already that are popping up here. The first one is, Carl, I think this is for you. Can you talk about what you remember from your near-death experience?
Yeah. Absolutely. So it was, I know with everybody talking about vaccines these days, back in, I think it was late 69, they had a vaccine for scarlet fever. And apparently it had a live virus in it because I ended up getting scarlet fever from that. And so I know I ran some pretty high temps, and that ended up really laying me out. I'll just put it that way. I know that I was in my parents' bedroom sleeping for the night. They had me tucked in. I think everybody went downstairs for dinner. And during that period, I ended up, I ended up leaving my body, but I don't remember seeing my body on the bed. But I remember going down a very dark, I want to say, pathway, which was more horizontal. So on the horizon, light, very bright light of, and I honestly have to tell you that light quality, it's very hard to describe because we don't have it here. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
as I traveled down that horizontal path, right, as I got closer to it, I could see that against that light, silhouetted against that light, were the silhouettes of, I'll say, 1,000 people. All right. It was just numerous people. And as I got closer and closer, and I could tell I was moving towards one particular individual. And as I got up right to that individual, and it was a woman, and I looked her in the face, and I talked to her a little bit, and can't remember everything that was discussed, but I remembered that she said wasn't my time and that I needed to go back. Right. And with that, I remember flying back through that darkness, and I was in bed, and I remember, and then I woke up because my mom was shaking me at that time. And when I woke up, and I know they got me into my dad went outside because this was, November in Chicago, and had gotten some buckets of snow and put them in the bathtub, and to bring my temperature down because it was spiking. But the interesting thing was, about a year later, I'm at my grandfather's house, and I'm looking through some photo albums that he had there, and I looked at this woman, and I said, "Oh, I know her. I've met her before." And my dad said, "That's impossible because that was my grandmother who died in 1937. So, but I met my grandma Emma in that during that period. So it was, but after that, it really absolutely shaped my life after that, because the impossible was not impossible anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
So do you think that was an astral projection experience, or do you think it was like a real out of
No,
body? You think it was out of body?
no, I
Okay.
think it was definitely an out of body. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Because I've had
Awesome.
since then I've had all kinds of other experiences, not
Mhm.
only experiencing spirit and ghosts and haunted locations, but also just I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I
Right.
I'll have to say, like, I've been to the other side multiple times through
Mhm.
what I would call vivid dreams, and
Mhm.
there was several locations that I've been, right. I'll put that in quotes, right. But certainly some of those vivid dreams, I've actually woken up and actually had the scent from that dream on my clothes and
Oh, wow.
validated it with like my grandmother, with my mother,
Mhm.
after that. And it was, and then described some of the things that I saw in that dream or I was shown in that dream. And it was things that happened long before I was even born that, were memories or events that they had experienced. But the smell, like especially being at my grandfather's funeral in 1959, it, I had the smell of the flowers from the funeral home.
Oh,
So,
wow. Wow. Amazing.
yep. So, yep. And I've had people tell me that I was a time traveler because of that, but
Mm.
I'm still not sure, right? I don't have enough data points in order to describe that. So and like I said,
Yeah.
I'm a science guy, so
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
data points and reflect on all that. So
Yes. And Brad has lots of he's very much into data, and I love hearing about all the stories that he has and all the data that they've collected. It's amazing. Um, has anyone another question. Has anyone watched the documentary on the man that raised a Bigfoot for 40 years till the government found out? I don't think I've come across that one,
I have
No,
not.
actually, I haven't.
no,
but I would like to know what it's called.
I haven't
So,
either.
Christy, if you have the
Christy,
name of it,
let's
share
say,
it, please.
Christy, send me a link.
Yep, exactly. Drop that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would really like to know.
Yeah. I mean, I would be interested to see that on many
Yeah,
levels.
yeah.
So,
She also says she's seen and heard the Yowie in Australia. I've heard
Yep.
of the
Yep.
Yowie.
yep.
Yeah,
Another
So have
version
I.
of Bigfoot.
yeah.
Yep.
Very
And it
Absolutely.
seems like every region has their name for the the entity known as Bigfoot, Sasquatch,
right.
Yowie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. The only place
definitely.
he hasn't
The
been spotted in the
Almausti.
world is Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
There are
Yep.
no reports of such that I've found in Hawaii.
Nope.
Okay.
They have Minahunis, though. They're like,
They have
Little
different
miniatures. Yeah. The little people.
yeah.
Mi-
Yeah.
m- Mini me. Yeah.
Mini me.
Right?
hmm
Awesome. We have so many comments. I'm just trying to get through some of them here. Documented a lot. Yeah, documented a lot of the Chicago Mothman sightings. Yes, that one is really interesting, Nick,
hmm
especially in such a populated area and so many people have seen it. So I
I
find that
mean,
one
coming from
fascinating.
around the Point
Mhm.
Pleasant area, I find that fascinating. It's up in Chicago like that.
Yeah.
Because you always hear in that area around Point Pleasant, because I was raised in just west of St. Albans, West Virginia, which is
Mhm.
like 20 miles from Point Pleasant, and you always hear, there's my brother's best friend's mom saw this thing that we think is Mothman. You always hear it's like third person, fourth
Yeah.
person, down through there. And we couldn't, and it's interesting because the people that originally saw the thing, you can't hardly find them anymore because they're
Mhm.
all starting to pass away and, that kind of stuff. And it's a bummer because, we've tried to gather information on it from a sociological point of view. And we can't find anybody except it's like 4 people out,
Mhm.
So They don't hardly
Right.
you don't hardly hear
Well,
about it anymore in that area. I think it's fascinating though that you're the mention that it's up, up in Chicago like that. It's almost like everything kind of moved north. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, he's all over the buildings, even in populated like 63rd and Pulaski. He was over a corner building on a very busy intersection, and there was an Indian statue, very tall. So it's like a landmark there, and he was on the Indian statue. And then even at O'Hare Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the world, I mean, he was sighted there too. So
Wow.
I mean, I've seen some things that
well,
I can't explain flying around like that around my mom's farm out in the middle of West Virginia. I mean, there's no city lights or anything around that thing. It's just you can see the Milky Way. It's really neat. But we'll see. I mean, and what we ended up determining what it was actually a pretty darn big barn owl. But it had like a 6-foot wingspan. It really was scary, but the noises we heard though was not the owl, and we still can't explain what those noises were. But everybody talks about if in West Virginia, especially if you're close to Point Pleasant, if you see something you can't explain in the woods, it's automatically Mothman, which is kind of a misnomer because it might not be. It could be Biggie himself. You don't know. You don't know what you're seeing there. Don't just automatically jump to the conclusion that it's Mothman.
Right.
I mean, and that eye shine fools a lot of people, because the big deal about Mothman back in the 60s was that the red eyes. So the eye shine, some of the animals out there will have a red eye shine depending on what kind of light you have, and that freaks some people out too. But the noises, those are different. And I can't figure out, and they're coming from up in the trees sometimes, and I'm not allowed to investigate on my mom's farm, just so you know. But
darn,
no. But if you standing outside, like I let the dog out, and I'm standing in the back 40 there, and I look up in the woods, and lo and behold, I hear what's something like really big up in those big oak trees that are up there. And I'm like, what is that? And then I hear it like almost like something takes off from the thing. And I don't know what I'm hearing because I can't see it. It's too dark. But yeah, the whole eye shine thing scares a lot of people too.
I bet. Yeah.
They also could be spirit lights though, because when I lived across the street from a cemetery, my sister and I would sit on the front porch and we would see the spirit lights. They could be all different colors, red, blue, or clear. And we would stay as long as we could until they got too close. And then we'd run in the house. But I know that people report seeing them in the seance room too. So they're actual lights, and they can be different colors of the different rays that the spirits might come in on.
Well, I mean, you could see you've got the Brown Mountain lights. You've got we have a light up here called the West Point train light. It's on the railroad tracks, and nobody can figure out what the heck that is. That's actually like 10 miles from me. And they, trying to figure out what those things are is so difficult. From a science guy, Carl, you could probably appreciate this. We're trying to gather all this data. We're trying to get it on video. We're trying to look at it with a thermal imager. We're trying to do all these different things. And it's so hard because it happens so sporadically. People see it when they didn't expect it. They'll just be standing along the railroad tracks. It's like, oh, wait a minute. What is that over there? And then, it's too late because there's no way you can bring up $5,000 worth of equipment on a whim like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting though, because I've seen that myself. And I'm still trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you see something
well, it's
on
interesting.
an investigation. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
Oh, no. I was going to say, so it's interesting. We talk about Mothman, and of course there's a Jersey Devil, right, as well. And they're both flying entities, right? And I've been doing a lot of research in and around the Alton, Illinois area. And there's, of course, there's the legend of the Piasaw there, which was a large winged creature, and when you actually look at the early handbills of the Jersey Devil, it sure looks a whole lot like the Piasaw rendering, and there was actually a mural on the side of a limestone, bluff out just north of Alton, Illinois, that actually that when Pierre Marquette came through that area in 1673, actually noted and drew up the recorded this big giant mural that was already there in 1673, painted on the side of this bluff. As I talked to different residents of Alton, I ended up finding two people in Alton that actually witnessed a Piasaw in 2013. Okay. And
Wow.
it was, so I got their account. I interviewed them separately. I tried to use as much scientific method as I could with this. And it was really interesting because the husband was sitting in the passenger seat. And oddly enough, this was near just south of Jerseyville, Illinois. The husband's in the passenger seat and the wife was driving, and they gave separate details of the creature that was flying in front of their car, just because of their different viewpoints. And that was really fascinating to me that, so when I wrote up the description, I, combined all of that. But yeah, it was, it's interesting, but it makes me wonder, if maybe the Jersey Devil, the Piasaw, maybe Mothman even they're similar creatures, or maybe even, that traverse or are using waterways in order to navigate around the country, because that's all the way from the Ohio River all the way down up the Mississippi, up the Illinois River, etc. So
or portals. The Cahokia Mounds down there. Have you ever been to the Cahokia Mounds?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's absolutely. I have. Yes.
That's very spiritual. And there's lots of Native American architecture down there. And some of the paintings could have been by them.
Oh,
paintings were.
It most likely was them, and I think it was them recording something, right? And as it turns out, exactly. And in fact, we have that in Arizona. We've got all kinds of petroglyphs in Arizona, and there's numerous petroglyphs that I found that, where it's petroglyphs of feet, and then there's a couple of big feet, right? Or there's one individual that has very big feet, and he's much taller than all the other individuals that are drawn in the petroglyph, So there's multiple of those that I've discovered in hiking all over Arizona before. But it's in my opinion, at least as far as the hairy man pictograph from Northern California in the Hooper Reservation, that it, I think they rival that, honestly.
With being a member of the Stockbridge Muncie Tribe, Band of Mohicans, I can tell you right now, back in the days, if anyone in our culture, this is across the entire country, if we spoke about it, if we painted it, if we left any kind of record of it, it's because it was legit, it was real, it was there with us. It wasn't like nowadays we talk just to talk. No, we actually passed down information verbally, or we left pictures of it behind. So that was done by the paintings down in Illinois were done by natives, and it was a way to leave it behind so future generations knew. It was their way of leaving the education behind for them.
Yeah. It really kind of makes you it makes you think maybe there is something to do with portals then. Maybe, or if it's not a portal, something else that is allowing these creatures to somehow come in and out, because it's like, where are they? Right? Where are the bodies?
Right.
We have footprints. Where are the bodies? How can they just be there 1 second and then they're completely gone another? So it really makes you wonder,
and you wonder if there really are pyramids.
It's interesting
in those mounds, because there's so many towns Lake of Egypt, Egypt, Illinois, Lebanon, Illinois. There's so many Egyptian names for
Cairo.
towns, and Cairo.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. And they run through the ley lines. So if you're into the ley lines, if you,
Mhm.
you can track some of the portals or the energy centers where a lot of this activity happens.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Oh, somebody just mentioned ley lines. Laura, I sit on 4 ley lines that are hooked
Sure.
to the
Yeah.
mounds there, to the major vortex on the mounds. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And, you know, ley lines have been talked about, spoken about, written about for how long, Julie? I mean, I'm no expert in ley lines, but centuries. Right.
Yeah.
The ancients knew about our
I-
meridians. Those are our ley lines in our body. So, since ancient times.
Come to Sedona, Arizona. That's all I have to say.
I love Sedona.
I love it. We're going back in a
Been
couple.
there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful there. Nick says it would make so much sense not to mention that Southern Illinois has so much activity, especially in the Shawnee National Forest.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
and you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tiffany. You go right
no, you're
ahead.
okay. And I was going to say, because Chrissy just mentioned Australia again, you know, there's a talk of a native portal in Australia, aka Ayers Rock. I'm sorry, I'm not going to attempt to say to pronounce that, Christy. Uluru, I think, is maybe close.
Uluru. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and then it gets you thinking, like, okay, it's not just here in North America, it's on every continent. And I'm sure even Hawaii has something, you know, maybe they don't have Bigfoot or mothman type creature, but they have other things. And, you know, of course they have their own stories that have been passed down generations. But like Bobby was saying, these stories come from somewhere. They don't just, you know, they're not just made up. We had, as a people, we had no reason to just tell stories. We had to tell stories in order to survive. And so these stories were not just made up out of thin air for entertainment. They were made up so that, like you said, future generations could survive and would know what to do or what to look out for so they could be safe, right? So it's super interesting. I would like to know, since we're kind of on the subject of Bigfoot mostly and Mothman, have any of you seen a Bigfoot or a Mothman or heard? You have with your eyes. You want to tell us about it?
Bigfoot, absolutely.
Bigfoot.
Oh, I've had so starting in 2008, like I said, actually, you know, hearing those howls back, and I said I need to figure out what that is, and since that point, I've actually seen 13. I've had 13 sightings total. 7 of which were in Arizona. I've had 1 in Georgia, actually. I've had 3 in Illinois, actually in the suburbs of Chicago, which was all due to a lot of, you know, and I always tell people, you know, people that have read a lot of the stuff I've put online before, you know, they'll say like, oh, well, you go to a location and boom, you see one winner. No, I went to 40 locations, you know, or I narrowed it down to 10 locations and I struck out 10. Did you want to read about all the times I went hiked and didn't see anything, or, you know, anyway, it was, but you know, 3 sightings, forest preserves of Chicago. And then I've had 1 sighting that was in the eastern Missouri, near West Alton, and 1 sighting that was over near Bethany, Missouri, on the west side of Missouri. But you know, being a software consultant, I around, not to quote the Beach Boys on that, but the you know, it certainly helped. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, in the evenings, my wife knows I'm not going to strip clubs or anything like that. I'm probably out in the woods, by
Yeah.
myself someplace with a tape measure and night vision or thermals,
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but
And your casting material and everything, right?
exact. Oh yeah. I've got great TSA stories for all that too as well. But
That's great. That's
yeah.
great.
No, so
Mhm.
yeah, so I mean, my first sighting, it was with my nephew, and he was 12, and with a night vision scope that unfortunately didn't record, but we witnessed a female Sasquatch that ended up stepping behind a tree. He
Mhm.
saw her from on the front on, but was more focused on the face. And then by the time he handed me the night vision scope, I saw a profile view kind of her left breast as she took one last step behind a tree. But
Oh, wow.
because the hillside going down to the canyon was so steep, she actually hung onto the side of the tree with her hand in order to
Yeah.
get into hiding quick. And so her forearm from the elbow down to the fingertips was visible on the side of the tree. And as I like to say, the fingers were like ballpark franks, and the fingernails, because we were only 30 feet away from where
Yeah.
her arm was visible. And for 3 minutes you could see just the ragged edges of the fingernails a little bit, and certainly not manicured. And then the light breeze was drifting the hair on the forearm that was hanging down off the forearm. And then once she took her hand off the tree, and I heard her like maybe take one step onto some other forest litter, and she was out of sight, I knew she was still there. So I actually had my nephew sit down. We sat down, and I tried to talk. I tried to clack rocks. I tried, and then I started getting nervous because I thought my sister-in-law would really not like it if my
I was just going to
if
ask
her
you that. Like
12-year-old
you
was
had
eaten
absolutely
by a
no fear.
No. And and then since then I literally have zero fear. Now I've never had an encounter with a dog man, but I understand that there's maybe some different dynamics there as well. But as the way I always look at it is that there's bad people and there's good people, right? And I think there's
Mhm.
bad Bigfoot maybe, and there's bad
Yeah.
dogmen, maybe. But for the most part, I think they just want your respect
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that's where I've fallen. So most of my research these days, I mean, I have enough sightings. I don't need to really see one anymore. I'd rather interact with them and understand them better, and
Mhm.
um, and I've also done that just by as to quote Sir Isaac Newton, right? We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And
Mhm.
not literally, but you know, trying to learn from other researchers as well. So
Yeah.
there was a family of habituator. There's a couple that had they were habituators. They had a Sasquatch clan that was on their property, and they interacted with them. They had other investigators come up, and this was near the Texas-Oklahoma border.
Mhm.
And I maintain a lot of, not all, but a lot of the physical collections that
Wow.
that
Mhm.
they collected over the years, and that other investigators that were on site did. And we're actually finally assembling a lot of that data and a lot of
Mhm.
their experiences, and even, believe it or not, logbooks, journals that they wrote back and forth with this Sasquatch clan. Initially, they wrote back in Ogham, which is an extinct written language that kind of died out in Ireland in 4th century AD. But eventually, they actually started writing back in English as well. Um,
Mm.
and um, a- and it'll be eye opening. I'll just put it that way. So there should be a documentary coming out this year called The Sometime Place, and when
Okay.
that comes out, I think everyone's minds will be expanded greatly
Well, please keep
on
us
the
updated
topic.
Yeah.
on that. That sounds fascinating.
I
I
absolutely
know
will.
Bobby has had some encounters.
Yep. Back with my former team that I used to belong to, we were up in the UP of Michigan doing some
Mhm.
research, and me and the team leader were walking down this trail, and we kind of stopped because we heard a thump, really loud, almost like you could feel it through the ground to you.
Mhm.
We stopped, and the next, about 20, 30 feet over to the right, you hear another thump. Right away, we got the cameras out, we got the thermal going. We even dove into the to overbrush and everything to try to figure out what we heard, what we seen, what we kind of experienced, and we couldn't find anything at
Wow.
all to say something was there.
Mhm.
But you heard them footsteps clear as day. You felt them, but nothing on the thermal, no footprints, and it just disappeared. There was no
Right.
more
Really?
I
sounds other than two thumps.
That's crazy.
a-
So
and
you
and
think
I've had that experience as well. Yeah, where
Yep.
and one of them definitely was one that had jumped out of a tree. So we had walked right past it. It was up in a tree. It jumped down and took off, and
Yep.
and it just left two very deep impressions of where it landed on the ground beneath this one tree. But other than that, you know, yeah, there was no other trace, right? But I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Julie, go ahead.
that's okay. I was just going to say, because they're interdimensional, they
Mhm.
have that ability to go in and out.
Yep.
Because, when researchers say one was to get captured, what would we do? We would
Yeah.
study it, prod it, poke it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of interdimensional creatures.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
we don't catch them, we don't find them. The fairies, when they come, or other beings like that, pixies, they leave evidence, like they'll leave a circle of mushrooms, but if you're not right there to see it and, to experience it, and if you're clairvoyant enough, you can see them. I mean, I've seen them lots of times in Lilydale when I've worked there. They have a whole fairy garden, and there's certain places that are protected, forests where
Mhm.
nobody's walking through them. I mean, if you sit out at night and you're quiet and you ask them to come in, they will show themselves if they feel safe.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
We're talking about a lot of stories and things like that around things like Mothman, Bigfoot, Dogman. Let's just say Flatwoods Monster. Anybody here familiar with that? Flatwoods
No.
Monster.
Mm-mm.
It's
Mm-mm.
in the 1950s or 60s in Central West Virginia. There was a flash of light. Something crashed in the woods. Next thing you know, something looks like an alien
Oh,
is seen
wow.
walking around there. It's called the Flatwoods Monster, and occasionally people say they still see it. But there's all these stories flying around about this stuff, and we're a data-driven organization, and we're trying to gather data
Mhm.
around these things because too many people have too many stories.
Right.
And so something's got to be going on. We don't know what it is. I mean, because none of the data we have right now supports, one way or another. It's we don't have any video, we don't have any thermal of these things, of the cryptid type things. But we we ended up like trying to now look deeper into that side of things because it's just there's too many stories. So something's got to be seen. The same
Yeah.
thing goes with UAPs because there's very little hard evidence of UAPs.
Right.
I
And
was experiencer. I saw one with my eyes. So
yeah, I realize. I mean, people see them all the time, and it's like, but there's no. I mean, there's no data around it. There's no. I mean, people say they've got ionizing radiation and stuff like that readings from those things, but they don't record it. You
Yeah.
don't know what the levels are. You don't know what the background really was at the time, and there's a lot of stuff that has to go along with that. So what
Mhm.
we're endeavoring to do right now is we're endeavoring to collect data around. Well, let me put it this way: there's a lot of the stuff that's being reported around Bigfoot sightings and UAP sightings is the same identical thing that we're actually picking up in paranormal investigations. It's
Right.
crazy, and we're starting to link the three. Basically, everybody talks about the theory of everything, but it's like that's not really what we're doing. We're trying to find a correlation between the data that we're getting. If you watch Skinwalker Ranch, they run into that all the time because
Mhm.
they're running into all three realms.
I
Yeah.
believe we're all one consciousness.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but
that is why, I mean, we're going to, and maybe if you went to the flight recordings, if the airlines would release what the pilots are seeing, because there's a lot of evidence and data and recordings of them flying next to planes, especially in Texas, in certain areas.
That's still anecdotal. That's the problem. Now, the radar hits that happen, that's not anecdotal. And so those are actual pieces of data that could be used.
Yeah.
The thing that when something burns a circle in the ground, that's also data that could be used, especially if they take radiation readings around the thing, or they check magnetic field readings and stuff like that around the site. But the trick is you got to collect all that different data that could be, the environmental conditions aren't causing the thing, I don't think, but the environmental conditions are changing because of what happened.
We're looking for changes, and I think that's key, because everybody wants to use all of these pieces of equipment to prove, and it's not proving anything. All it's doing is telling you that something within the environment is changing.
And it
is all it can do. Yeah.
And that's exactly right.
And I think what people also don't understand, and I run into this a lot, is, especially you, Brad, and Carl, you talk about data a lot. People don't understand how long it takes to collect usable data. It is not just, I'm going to do this for a couple years and then I'm going to be able to go and write a report and this is my findings. We can't make these things just show up and appear. It is not like you can just go on a few investigations, whether it be for paranormal, like looking for ghosts or looking for Bigfoot or what have you. This is decades. This takes decades. And people are so quick because they're like, well, show me the data. Well, what, you have all the data. You've been doing all this research for, how many years? How much more data do you need? Well, we need enough data in order for us to see the correlation and then come and prove our theory.
And those correlations have to be statistically significant too. That you've got to make sure that you do the analysis, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like we'll gather, like right now, the last time I talked to you, Tiffany, we were at 2.9 terabytes of data, and this is numerical data.
What are you at now?
We're at 4 now, so 4 terabytes now. Wow. So that's a lot of data.
Well, I only talked to him like 2 months ago too, guys.
And so we're now having to sift through that and look for correlations. And we're starting to do a much bigger dive and looking for correlations, not only within a particular location, but also correlations among sites across the area.
Yeah.
And I talk with my hands. That's why.
Yeah.
That's proved interesting because we're utilizing Notebook LM to do a lot of this, and which is a Gemini product on Google to help with the analysis part, not with the narrative part, with the analysis part. And it's eye-opening. The correlations that we're seeing around multiple things, the example I was talking about before, we went to a battlefield site in Central Virginia that we were there looking for paranormal stuff. Looking for what might cause what people think they're seeing and hearing at this location, the gunfire they hear, the soldiers that they see down in this one particular area, and stuff. That what's causing that? So we went there, and we've recently purchased like $5,000 worth of thermal imaging gear and stuff, and that records over time. It's 4K, and it's really awesome. It renders about a mile out. That's how sensitive this stuff is. So we had some of this stuff set up in the house, but we also had some sitting out on outside, aimed down towards where people say they see these soldiers, right? And basically too, we also collect data on barometric pressure, temperature, humidity, but we also look at ionizing radiation over time. We're data logging this stuff, and then we're also collecting data on changes in the geomagnetic field, electromagnetic field, different RF frequencies that are out there. We're very specific things, and we're collecting data about this stuff over time. And what we found this last time, this was April 11th. We went to this site, and let me tell you something. what we saw there, yes, we've seen spikes
Mhm.
in very in pieces of this site. It's a big site, and it stretches several hundred acres around this thing. So we've been getting spikes in radiation. We'll see changes in the geomagnetic field at the Gauss level, and it's significant stuff. And we also hear the sounds like gunfire. We have sound recordings of the gunfire, the whole bit, and the gunfire was enough that it was loud enough that caused our geophones to register the gunfire.
wow.
So a lot of this stuff happened. But this last time we were out there, we heard very little in the way of sounds, which is highly unusual for this site, because we've been going to this site for like 5 years, and actually no, 6 years now. And so now we all of a sudden we had our thermal imager outside. We're seeing down into this area where we see like, I don't know, figures walking around on the thermal imager down towards where this part of the battle took place, which they report all the time, but we don't see it on a regular 4K camera, and we also can't see it with night vision. So we're like, what the heck is that? Well, at the same time, though, we had a UAP thing happen up in the sky. The thermal imager saw this circle started gradually growing in until it got a certain size, and then it went from cool to white hot and stayed that way for at least 15 minutes. Then it faded from view, and we're like, whatever. We saw it in real time. We whipped out all the night vision gear. We're all looking up in the sky trying to figure out what we just saw, right? And this seeing that's Skinwalker Ranch type stuff,
Yeah.
stuff you see on that show. So it's like seeing that.
absolutely.
And we also got these massive changes, spikes in ionizing radiation in various locations when this ball of light appeared, or a ball of heat appeared. And then we got changes in the geomagnetic field. And we also got these RF spikes, radio frequency spikes, in very specific frequencies, just like Skinwalker Ranch does, right when that happened. And that was at the same time we were getting this paranormal stuff happen. And we had a seismic event happen from one geophone we had at in a cemetery, and then a geophone we had inside the basement of the house. Both shook, huge, like something knocked them over, and nothing did. And but none of the other geophones picked it up across the site. So it wasn't an overall seismic event. It was a localized seismic event, and it was related between the cemetery and the house, which are a good 500-600 yards apart. So it was very interesting that happened. So we had all these correlations, and when the AI went through it and looked at everything, it made a suggestion to us that we didn't even think of, because we're looking for localized events, right? Localized events. That's what we're looking for. No, it seems to think that this is a single event of an anomaly moving around the site. And then when you look at the data, you're like, darn, we didn't even think of that. Our poor human minds didn't even think of that. And so now we're looking at that holistically. And this is the same area where they're getting reports of Dogman and Bigfoot all around this area too. So all this data is we're trying to collect. We're trying to correlate that to try to get some kind of, data type, data-centric evidence, let's say, around these sightings of Bigfoot, these sightings of Dogman, the sightings of the ghosts that they see down in the valley there, the gunfire people hear, and the weird thing we saw in the sky. So that's that, and that is the only time we've been able to see something like that correlation between fields, so to speak, between cryptids, UAP, stuff like that. That's the only time we've seen that, but we really haven't been looking for it. We just stumbled on this, and that seems to be the way it is.
Yeah.
You stumble on something, and when you stumble on it, then you got to run with it, because if you don't, you're going to lose it. So now we're going to be at another site this weekend, and we're going to do the same thing, see if we can duplicate it down there and see if the same kind of thing happens, because this site's every bit as noisy, anomalous noises and stuff like that as the previous battlefield site was.
And there's that patience again, that patience,
Yeah,
repeating it at the same place.
over and over and over again. Because if you're never going to know when you're going to get something that's significant. Because we've been going here 6 years. This is the first time we've gotten this.
Yeah.
So, and same thing, there's another site we've been going to for, 14 years, and that's Bacon's Castle down in Surrey.
Mm-hmm.
And that house was built in 1665. It's a big 9,000 foot mansion. And we've been going down there, and we recently saw evidence of an Einstein Rosen bridge down there that we never in a million years thought we'd see.
Yeah, you were talking about that the last time we had a discussion.
And that was down there, and that Einstein Rosen bridge, it was just a dot formed. And on the video, we're like, what just caused that? It wasn't pixelation. It wasn't, how when you look at it zoomed in, it might be squares, that kind of thing. It wasn't pixelation, and it just kind of formed, and then it went away.
Yeah.
And about the same time that we heard voices and stuff like that. So it's like, what did we just see there? And it seemed, and the changes in the geomagnetic field, the spike in radiation, all that stuff indicates that's the same kind of stuff you would expect around an Einstein Rosen bridge.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with what that is, that's the predicted wormhole that Einstein and Rosen predicted in the theory of relativity. So that, and the only thing we can't measure to prove it 100% right is gravity. We got to see the change in gravity. But we can't do that because we don't have the equipment. We have funding, mind you. We're a 501c3. By the way, you can go to our site and donate. But we're a 501c3, and we get donations from various entities out there. But we don't have enough money to get the equipment to be able to measure gravity like that. So it's trying to find those correlations. Long story short, we got to find the correlations in order to get some kind of real proof.
Yeah.
Stories are great because that points us in certain directions. You got to think that's, sociologically, that's pointing us. It's like, well, they're seeing all this stuff over here. We need to look over here and see what's going on over here. But, that isn't really, the scientific evidence that we need to be able to see what's really going on out there. And I've taken an ungodly amount of time. Sorry, Julie. You go right ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that it doesn't surprise me that spirits materialize at that time with all that energy coming in, because that's what they need to materialize here in a more solid form or apparition form. So pay attention to that when you're seeing those energy balls or orbs of light, whatever that is that's coming in a haunted place. That's what they need to materialize, because we have materialized beings walking through, and they're using the energy of the mediums for things. But so imagine what they could do using galactic energy or energy that's coming from all over from space. I think it's fascinating.
Wow. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, the one thing that we learned from this whole experience is we've got to be cognizant of what's going on around us and not be so focused on the experiment sitting right in front of us that we got to be. It's like, well, there's something going on over here now too, so we got to watch that. That's the hard part though, because when you get really focused on something, you're focused on it.
Yeah, especially when you have so much going on. And it made me think, because we have an investigation coming up this weekend, and it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it makes me think, should we plant somebody outside and just keep watch on the skies and just see what's going on out there?
Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Exactly.
I will.
Why not?
Yeah.
Because we're going to every time now.
Yeah, we can only see less than 1% with our physical eyes. Who knows what else is out there?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
And since we're looking for that Einstein Rosen bridge, that's the goal. Holy grail.
I'm going to be looking for that every single time I go on an investigation.
If we go out and we have a thermal imager and we see that little ball happen, that's a the fact that that's got heat and it's not visible and there's some lensing around it, that we would expect due to the gravity of something like that opening. The event horizon around an Einstein Rosen bridge is technically microscopic, but the event horizon is going to be about the size of a quarter. And if you see something like that, that right there is, well, let me put it that way. If you see something like it, you better call me, So
Oh, I will.
you
I
better
will.
call me, and then we're
All
going
right.
to ask you all kinds of questions. So yeah, but that's one of the things, because we think something like that, if something like that were to happen, this is theoretical. That's why we're running the experiments. We've got the theory and then the hypothesis, and then we're designing the experiment. We run the experiment. If something like that were to happen, you would have changes in the environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
You would notice, like in Biggie sightings, they say that all the birds and the bugs go quiet.
Mhm.
That would happen.
Mhm.
You would have changes. You might even be able to see something, like you're seeing through something going on at another location. That kind of thing could happen. There's all kinds of stuff that could happen around that. If one of those were to open close to you, like a small, tiny micro one were to open close to you, you'd feel like you were being touched simply because of the gravitational change.
Yes. Can I ask you a question, Brad?
Yeah.
Are all of the people who go out on your investigations scientifically minded?
Yes.
Or okay, have you ever thought of bringing a medium with you who would be able to preemptively tell you, because they would feel it, they would know it, and then you
Well,
could be a little more prepared, because some mediums can feel the energy, and I've seen those open. I can tell you in seances, when a vortex is going to open and an apport is going to come through, you're going to see a flash of light or a ball of light or something that looks like a lightning bolt. It's
well,
documented, but I mean, maybe you should think about bringing somebody like that with you.
well, that also introduces in the experiment. When you run an experiment in the scientific method, you can't have confirmation bias. And having somebody like that says, "Hey, look for this coming at you," is confirmation bias. So we got to be very careful about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to conduct the experiment, it has to be, the controls are in place. We've controlled all the controllable variables there are. There's plenty of uncontrollable variables, but you got to be able to do that when you're running the experiments. And that's how we operate. We operate a lot like we have a board of visitors. Tiffany's met some of them. We operate like a college or a university does in
Mm-hmm.
conducting that kind of research. So that's kind of how we operate. We even happen to notice that there's the GOES satellites, per se, the ones that are 24,000 miles out that look at the weather down here. Well, they also measure the Earth's magnetic field over time, and it goes up and down in a sine wave over time, increase, decrease, and it's at the micro Tesla level. And the that particular satellite too, we found out, if we went back and looked at it after the fact, that most of the reported most of the things being reported to us, or most of the things that we're actually capturing, happen when it's on the decrease, when that field's on the decrease, and which is counterintuitive, really. But statistically, that's what when you do the data analysis, it shows you that. And the fact that that's going on, you would think, well, you could just look at that and make sure you're on a downward swing before you conduct your experiments. That's confirmation bias. You can't do that. So we don't use it that way. We look at it after the fact, because we got to be able, we got to be as unbiased as possible. Mm-hmm. And when we go into it, now I have a belief structure. I was raised in the Church of Christ in West Virginia. No, I did not handle snakes. People ask me that all the time. But I will tell you that I have a belief structure, and I believe certain things are going to happen. With a death in the family, we firmly believe that, things like cardinals will come around the person as they pass. It's exactly what happened with my sister. And it still makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck. It was really, really, really significant when that happened. And I have to believe that it's a myth. It's a myth, right? That kind of stuff happens. It's an old West Virginia backwoods myth. That kind of stuff happens. But I witnessed it firsthand. Yeah. You don't see flocks of cardinals. You just don't. and there was a couple dozen cardinals around my sister's window when she passed. So
Wow.
it was intense
Yeah.
right there. That right there was something, and wanting to know what happens after that kind of keeps you going in this field a little bit, because you can get jaded real fast.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to run into the crackpots, you're going to run into people that lie to you, you're going to run into everybody that wants to get on TV, which we will not do. We are going to be on an episode of Weird World Adventures, but that we don't do that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they just happen to follow us around, and they wanted to see how we operate. But you have to think, if you want to know what happens after you pass, it's a good idea to keep that belief structure, because you can separate that from the scientific endeavor. You can, and you have to. But, my belief is, certain things are going to happen after I pass. And that's all that plays into the mythology that's out there as well. And a lot of people in West Virginia, Mothman's a harbinger of doom and destruction. And that's what people say. And you got to think, the Silver Bridge, when it collapsed, that was right after Mothman was sighted, and so everybody blames Mothman for that. They also blame. If you guys saw the Atlas of Cursed Places on Nat Geo, it was done during the pandemic, or just before the pandemic. It was done just before the pandemic, and this guy went to West Virginia looking at the curse of West Virginia, is what he called it. And I'm like, I'm from West Virginia. I never heard of this. So, but then he started talking about sightings of Bigfoot, the whole Flatwoods monster, the Grafton monster, which is like a Bigfoot with no head. Which is weird. You got Mothman, you got all these different things happening around, and they all blamed it on Mothman. Mothman was the thing that did it. And so, and then that belief structure right there allows people to get past the grief and the shock and the trauma of some of the things that happen to people in West Virginia. Because I'm here to tell you, nasty things happen to people in West Virginia all the time, simply because of well, I'm not going to get into politics, but industry greed. Let me put it that way. So
politics, though, the government does use psychics and remote viewers. They have Project Blue.
That is true.
They use them. They believe it helps so much.
Yeah,
so
they've
it's not scientific, but they have gotten a lot of help.
Yeah, the military had that whole thing, and there was a person that was part of our organization that actually participated in that. And but she's an engineer, and she's here to tell you that some of the stuff that they were doing was quite, it was questionable, their methods, but she said that some of the things that they were picking up on really couldn't be explained. And and it was on the rare occasion, because they had a lot of people that just thought that they could do this, but they couldn't really, and but there were some people that didn't think they could do it, but did it, and when that one destroyer got hit during the Iran-Iraq war, and our destroyer was in the Gulf, it got hit. There was a guy, I just saw a story about that, and he was able to see that. He saw that happen, and he drew it, and everybody thought he was full of it. And then all of a sudden, the news reports came across, and he goes, "See, I told you," and right there it was, and the exact picture they showed on the news, which was pretty neat.
Helen Duncan was a famous medium of the UK, and during, I don't know if it was a Second World War or what, but she was getting messages from soldiers that she saw the ship had already went down and already got bombed, but it wasn't out. And so she was the last medium, or the medium in the UK that they put in jail for the Witch Act, because she knew all this information, and it happened, and it was before the government had released it. And so they arrested her thinking she was a spy, or how did she know all this stuff? Yeah, she knew.
Yeah.
Some people just have it. So,
Well, I know we've deviated into a different line here, but
No, it's
you can think,
fascinating.
the book, all those cryptids that we saw in West Virginia, like I said, a lot of the people use that as to help them. They use the belief in those things to help them
Right.
through traumatic periods in their lives. And
Yeah.
it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And I am not going to say that these people are crazy, because they honestly see something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're trying to do what we do,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out exactly what it is they are seeing or hearing
Yeah.
or feeling.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure that out. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's a fine line that we walk too, because yes, we want to prove that these people are experiencing something, but we also have to be careful, because you have a lot of people out there who they think they saw something or witnessed something and it was something very explainable, and they want to believe so badly that what
Yeah.
it was is truly paranormal. So
exactly.
it's a very fine line that we walk. I've lost some friends over the past few years because they call me up and they go, "Oh, you should go investigate this place and this place." I go, "No, that was just for TV," or, "No, that's not possible because of, X, Y, and Z." And "Oh, but no, what you're seeing done on TV isn't what it's actually like."
It's
You know?
really boring what
It
we do.
really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, people don't like to hear that. I was interviewed by a journalist recently, and I said that, and he took it all. The article he wrote was completely blown out of proportion. I'll never talk to a journalist again. But he's like, "Well, you only do a few investigations a year." And I go, "Well, are you wanting people to feel like they're in danger and being haunted constantly? Like, do you want us to be going on investigations every single weekend because people don't know what to do? Like, is that truly what you want?" you
Yeah,
know? And he couldn't
we
answer it.
do about, we actually go out and collect data about it, maybe at once a month, if
Mhm.
that. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's more like 9 times a year,
Yeah.
because we have to have time to do the
Analyze
preliminary
it.
review
Yeah.
of the data.
Yeah.
And also, when we're not collecting data, and we have other folks, because like I said, we got around 40 people in our organization. They're crunching the data behind the scenes
Yeah.
also at the same time. And so the data analysis part of it, the data collection part of it, takes 8 hours. The data analysis part of it takes weeks and weeks and
Mhm.
weeks. And that's what some people don't understand. This whole instant gratification thing that's out there is just,
Oh, yeah.
it just drives me absolutely crazy. It's like, we
Yeah.
need to know now. And it's like,
And
well, I'm here to tell you, I don't know now. So
Yeah.
you're just going to have to wait.
Again, there's
Yeah.
that patience. That patience,
Yeah, it's
people.
patience,
Please be
constantly.
patient. We
Yeah, I
have
mean,
a
you're sitting, like, for us, we're very passive data collection. We don't try to interact with anything. We don't do anything
right.
like that.
Yeah.
We just sit and gather video, audio, thermal, sensor data, and we watch.
hmm
We're sitting in a tent, even when it's 10 degrees outside. We're sitting in a tent, staring at a screen, the whole time. And then sometimes we see something that happens, like, significant. So we might go in the house to see if we can experience it,
hmm
right? Or to check the equipment to make sure the equipment didn't go bonkers on us. So, but it's so super boring. We had a TV show from the Discover Channel followed us around at St. Albans Sanatorium 10 years ago, and they wanted to know if we were going to be able to fit with a show they were putting together, right? Well, we did our thing the way we always do it, and they were like, "This
What?
is it?" I thought, don't you guys yell it into the
Oh
dark?
my
Or
God.
don't you guys use the blinky light things? It's like, no, we do not.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, something happened though. We heard something very loud up in the second floor of the King Center, and we went up there. And as we're standing there staring down the hallway, this black mass comes flying right at us and over our heads. Well, we just kind of stand there and look at it as it goes by.
And they're
we're
out of there.
we're checking our devices and everything, making sure everything's going on. That camera guy from the Discovery Channel ran like a scared kid out the door, sat on the front porch, and smoked a cigarette. Would not go back in the building.
That
And
is
then
not investigation.
no, it's not. And then the funny thing was, is he went
That's
back,
funny.
and then they found out that we did not fit what they were going to do.
Right.
Because they were going to do this paranormal lockdown thing with all these flashy
Oh,
light stuff. And it's like,
yeah.
that's not us. So we're not going to be able to do that for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. And we want people, though, to be able to see what we do so they understand what really happens. And then we go, and that's why we spend a lot of time. We're at Dragon Con. We do a lot of stuff on the X track down there. And we do stuff on and some other cons too, Galaxy Con around and things like that. So we have an education component that we're required to have for our nonprofit status. So we have a sociology professor, Jack, who you've met, Tiffany. He's the chair of the Department of Sociology at a university, and the guy is excellent at presenting. And his theories around the sociology of these sightings of cryptids around is just fascinating to listen to. They were on the Sasquatch Chronicles. He was on, and two other people from our organization were on there. Alan Sloniker was on there. He's a police officer in our organization. And then we have a retired police officer who is an actual cryptid specialist for us. We have those, by the way. And then he goes all over the place looking at this stuff. Right now, he's outside of Gettysburg right now, looking at something. But the guy, he knows a lot. And he just wasn't available tonight, Tiffany, or I would have had him contact me. But the guy knows a lot. And but the sociology around all those sightings and things is just a fascinating topic. And hearing them talk about it was just beyond fascinating, because you got to think, groupthink is a thing.
Yeah. And
it does happen. But the way these sightings work, it doesn't really fit that model. So, that was just really interesting to hear. So, and again, you got me on my soapbox. Why you guys do that to me?
I'm sorry. I just think everything you guys have to say is just fascinating.
Hey, I got a question for Julie. When you're talking, you're a medium. Am I correct in that? You're a medium?
Yeah.
Have you ever, when you've been around something like if you might have seen a UAP, you said you've seen one. When you've seen that, did you experience as a medium the same kind of things that you experience when you're in a haunted location? Do you experience the same kind of thing?
Well, I experienced, first of all, fear because I was with a child of mine. But after that encounter, I experienced draining batteries. So I had a car, nothing wrong with my car. And for the entire time after that I drove the battery would be drained within a day. So I had to literally put my car on a trickle battery to drive it. It went, to all these mechanics. So that's one major thing. And my physical mediumship became accelerated. So electromagnetic things happening, levitation, touching a screen, sparks would come, or blowing out computers.
See, that's interesting. You would say that because we're the data we're seeing around all three types of encounters is virtually identical. They're from one to the other, and so and look at Skinwalker. I keep bringing up Skinwalker Ranch, but they're the ones that actually just their experiments. Travis Taylor's experiments pointed us in a direction, and that right there is it. That's why I wanted to ask a question, because it would go to reason that if we're catching data that's identical around all three types, maybe we have people such as yourself, or is your name Rob?
I'll go by Rez.
Rez, okay.
Yeah.
You were shaking your head before. Is it you didn't experience that at all? You didn't?
No, it's different. It's for me, it's completely different. I didn't get any like the draining of the batteries or anything like that. What I seen was like a ball in the sky over the horizon up in the UP. This golden ball, and as I sat there and watched it, it was there long enough for me to smoke a cigarette. I went inside to grab my phone so I was going to snap a picture of it, and it was gone that quick.
Mm.
Wow.
Literally, turned my head, grabbed the phone, come back out, in his history.
See, that's cool. I mean, I would like to see something like that. So far my only UAP experience has been that ball on a thermal imager. But I just
I have not had one yet.
I felt at peace watching it,
Oh.
but then scratching my head afterwards, going,
I bet.
"What did I just witness?"
Yeah.
Where when I'm working in the paranormal, I feel a lot of different things, but it was a totally different feeling and experience. And
when you saw a cryptid, that's the same question. If you've seen a cryptid, do you experience the same type of feelings and effect on you as you do when you're experiencing the spirit or ghost type experience, and it would go to, for us, it goes to reason that, if we catch the data like that, maybe, mediums and folks and psychics would have similar experiences around all three fields. And from what I'm hearing, it's not necessarily like that, but it's almost like you got to be in a closer proximity.
Yeah, I was very
on.
close. I was very close. And I know, are you familiar with Professor Jefferson Souza?
Yes.
He was the only non-American on the Project Blue Book. And so he's the one, I had interviewed him and we were talking about that. And he said, absolutely, that's very common. The draining of the batteries and just that, all that energy.
Yeah, what we found, we actually had a series of experiments around battery drain. And for the longest time, we got butkus, zero results. We had a circuit with a battery and equipment around that circuit that we normally use to collect data on the different sensors that we have. And so, but we did that for 7 years and got nothing, no change in the battery, even though we had events happen right around that particular device. Now, that was all what people might consider residual, or that's kind of a misnomer. It's not really residual. We call it like non-interactive type activity. But we saw one time, and actually more times since then. The first time this happened, it was at Bacon's Castle. We had the door open, and it was an interactive event. We had an interactive event. When that interactive event happened, we also heard somebody running across the floor above us. So we went running upstairs, and every piece of battery equipment that we had in front of this door that opened was off.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck just happened? Mm-hmm. And so we had one device, though. One device was RF shielded, and it was not off. So and it was measuring electromagnetic field and RF. So we went and we looked at that, and lo and behold, at the time all that equipment was off was an electromagnetic pulse. I mean, I'm talking nuclear detonation size electromagnetic pulse.
Wow.
That hit right at that door. None of the other magnetometers picked it up anywhere in the house, just right in front of that door. And then we were able to see that that can also, something that large, it'll make your hair stand up on your arms and stuff like that too. And people feel that kind of stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And that happened. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff you expect out of an Einstein-Rosen bridge too. So with that happened that one time, and we were able to turn all that equipment back on, and it still had like 85% battery on all those battery operated pieces of equipment. Wow. And it was the darndest thing. It just shut them all down, all of them. So that's the first interaction that we've had that affected the equipment directly like that. And it was an interactive event. It just happened to be on top of where all that equipment was sitting.
Yeah.
So that's the hard data we have on that.
I used to work in a cardiac unit during that time. And if I would get too close to the monitors, they would all blow out. And we'd have to call the biomedical team to reset them. But
well, we actually have an MD that's part of our organization. We have medical professionals, engineers, you name it. The medical professional we have, she's a doctor of internal medicine, and it used to be over a period of time she was killing her electronics. Every time she would reach out, because it was after she went to a certain location. It was before I joined the group, but when she went to a certain location, she would when she came back, she could, if she touched the screen, it would blow up the computer. She ruined her, her electronic watch and all this other stuff. And then it gradually went away, and now she's running a series of experiments with an EEG, a portable EEG, as she walks through a haunted area or something like that. But that right there was fascinating to me. What now? I'm sorry.
What is she measuring with the EEG? Their brain activity?
Yep.
Okay. Their consciousness.
Probably alpha waves. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's measuring their consciousness.
Yeah, it's the kind that they have that some of the EMTs have now. But she has it. It's hooked to an app on her phone, so she's walking through the device, and it's fascinating to see because her brain registers events happening way before her body reacts, and it's fascinating to see that. So this is all really cool data.
All connected.
Yeah. And as she works more with that, it'll become quicker responses between the two.
Oh, I bet.
I think though that one thing we would like to see, if we could use that same experiment around one of those, our Sasquatch people call it, we're going to go squatching. But when they go out and do something like that, maybe have that device out there with them while this stuff's going on. And so we can see what actually happens there, because we're already trying to, the person's name is Rick Atterstein, is our subject matter expert on the cryptid side. And he's actually running a series of experiments all packaged together in something he's calling Quantum Bridge. And he's gonna try to gather the same data we gather at a supposed quote haunted location at a Sasquatch location, and see if he can get that. We're also trying.
They're very powerful. It might blow out the equipment.
It might, but we're and if it does, we'll just get new because we have insurance. But the other thing that we're looking at now is we're trying to get MUFON to join us at some of these big outdoor locations that we're at, and see if they can use some of that really cool stuff they have. They've got their own short field radar and all this other stuff that they have. And I'm like, whoa, we would really like to see that at one of our sites because of what we just saw. But the problem is MUFON doesn't play well with paranormal. So that's, politically that.
I was just with the director from Chicago last weekend at Contact Modalities, and they came and gave their talk. I don't think so. I don't think they all feel that way. I think getting to think it's all one consciousness.
You should see.
It might be your local chapter.
Yeah, I was going to say that local is a little different than the collective.
The national MUFON folks. We actually, our local MUFON in Virginia, they're interested, and I think we're going to be able to get them to come down. But the overall national MUFON group, they don't like dealing with it. So. It's kind of a bummer. I hate to say this, but on the BFRO, they at first didn't want to, but now they're starting. We had some people that actually I'm on the board for a historic tavern in Hanover County called Hanover Tavern, and we have a Paracon up there to raise money for the tavern every year, and we're going to have the BFRO people speak at that tavern. So they're starting to come around. We had the local MUFON people that were supposed to come down, but you guys remember the ice storm that we had here in Virginia? We were pretty much shut down for 2 weeks. The ice was this thick. It was solid ice, top to bottom. Cars couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't shovel it. It was just awful. But anyway, but the MUFON people, the guy that was going to come from MUFON, he broke his leg on that ice. So, he couldn't speak, but he's a great guy. And I think that we're going to have better experiences with them in the future. But locally, I think we'll be fine. It's, trying to get that overall the power of the national organization behind it is going to be is kind of difficult.
It's a different way of thinking for people,
and
that's really difficult. You can get a few people to come on over and kind of be a little bit more open-minded, but when you're talking about a large group of people within an organization, the people can believe whatever they want, but the organization as a whole, that's a completely different story. So, and that's what makes it difficult.
And like the guy from the MUFON, the people from the MUFON chapter here in Virginia, some of them are coming on board to this whole, like you're talking about, Julie. Where it's all related. And I'm not talking about West Virginia related. I'm talking about it's all related.
Yeah, multidimensionally.
You all didn't get the joke either. I just made a relative joke in West Virginia. We're all relatives in West Virginia. It's like everything is connected. Everything is correlated, and they have a hard time grasping that subject a little bit. It's tough.
Well, I think when we were talking last time, Brad, I think we touched on this a little bit. We are starting to see, especially in the medical community, we are starting to see more people come over. We are starting to see the open-mindedness, and you've mentioned that on in your organization, you have medical professionals, you have first responders, you have people who we look to, who we go to, who we rely on, and they're starting to open up and say, there is something going on here. It's just slow, it's slow,
and it's gonna be. It's like you got to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So,
right. But we are starting
to say that all the
see
time.
People kind of open up more. I see it a lot more in the medical fields. Like, you have doctors, you have nurses, you have EMTs who are having experiences. And we have a couple of nurses on our investigation team who, they both have had experiences when they were actively working in nursing jobs. And, back then you can't really tell anybody, but now you can say, hey, I experienced this. You were standing right next to me. Did you experience that too? Or you have military professionals now who are coming forward. Yes, I saw that. And it's no longer, we have airline pilots who are coming forward. Yeah, I saw something and I called it in, and they were like, well, we don't know what it is, go this way.
Just keep flying,
So we're starting to see it's not so taboo anymore,
right.
But it's going to take time, just like everything. We just got to have patience though.
I'll be dead before they come around, but that's okay. Then you guys can investigate me
sooner. It'll be sooner than that, I think.
I tell you,
I think so.
The interesting thing about on the medical side coming around faster, they're coming around faster than any of the other professions. John, you got to think Johns Hopkins has recently their medical schools coming on. They might be looking at psi stuff or the parapsychology side of it, but they're still coming around to looking at it. And of course, I always got to talk about the University of Virginia, the Division of Perceptual Studies. That's part of the medical school. So that whole side of it, on the psychological side. So they actually, and they talk about near-death experiences, Carl. And they talk, they do research into that, and they do research into the past lives in children, and there's some fascinating stuff going over there, and that's major universities doing this. Right. I'm not talking about Peter Venkman type stuff. I'm talking about this is legit stuff, and they go all over the world and present on it, which is great. So they're definitely coming around.
Yeah. And it's so refreshing to see, because like we've been saying this whole episode, people are experiencing something, and when we go on investigations and we present evidence, we might not find anything. We might walk away and absolutely nothing happens. And what I always say to them is it doesn't mean you're not experiencing it. It just means that we just didn't capture it, but you're having an experience and that is in itself valid,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So it's refreshing to finally, you know, have people be able to open up and talk and say, "Yeah, I experienced." Now, you know, some people are it's just, "No, you didn't," you know, but for many, it's, "No, you can talk to," you know, every time we have a Zoom call with anybody who's had an experience and they want us to investigate, whether it be a private home or business or what have you, 99% of the time, they're like, "This is gonna sound crazy." We've heard it all. This is why we do it. Please tell us, you know, we're here for you. We want to know about it. And it's just a really refreshing feeling to know that people are starting to have those outlets where they can say, yeah, like I felt
Oh,
this
we
or I
get
saw it or
Right.
something happened. I'm not
Yeah.
crazy. It's okay to say something happened. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to know what it is. But let's not keep brushing it under the rug and ignoring it because it's not going to go away.
and that's you know, part of that's human nature, you
Yeah.
know, brushing it under the rug
Yeah.
because they just don't want to deal with it at that time.
Yeah.
And
Right. Exactly.
But I
and
want to deal with it. I want to know what it was.
oh,
Yeah.
me,
Head on.
I've got I know it's funny because a friend of mine, you guys might know him, Tim Shaw. He's a spiritualist minister, but he's also um, he's a medium, and he's a really good friend of mine. We go battlefielding a lot. We go around to all kinds of battlefields around, and the guy is a great guy, and he as a reward for me one time for taking him to see a spot where his family actually fought just down the road from where I live. He sent me something in the mail. It's a piece of the Hinsdale house. And so it's currently, I mean, you know, you would think I'm a science guy. I shouldn't be afraid of it. But it's still in the box in my garage, which is disconnected from my house. And I don't go anywhere near it. And he knows.
Wow.
And he makes fun of me all the time about it. It's like, I'm not going to risk it. I am not going to risk it because I have a 16-year-old kid. And I just, and you know, I got a beautiful wife. I do not want to risk that situation. So it's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that as a practical joke for me. And I was like, gee, thanks, Tim. And by the way, Tim, if you're listening, we love you, buddy. We love you. Just don't send any more Hinsdale House to me. Thank you.
You know, it all boils down to the beliefs of the practitioner and the receiver.
Nice.
What
Exactly.
you personally believe in.
That you know, that prohibits me from bringing that in my house.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's in my garage still. It's sitting on the back wall, actually hanging up. It's still in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. What is that over here? I don't know.
That brings up an interesting point. You know, I tend to focus on belief a lot because it's so important in what we do. Do you guys feel like in certain locations where the belief is so strong about a cryptid or a mythical creature that people are manifesting it somehow or calling it to come through somehow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Topos. You know,
Mhm.
they're thought forms that are created into our universe that become real. Slender Man, prime example.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the St. Albans Sanatorium right now.
Say that again?
It started out St. Albans Sanatorium. Sorry, I moved away from the mic. St. Albans Sanatorium actually, you know, it started off with mostly what people considered residuals type stuff, and then all of a sudden, weirdness started like going off the rails, and this weird elf looking thing started appearing to people. Now I've never seen this stuff, but you know, I've been there several times, but I've never seen these things. But these things, you know, people really claim to see this stuff, and it's like, you know, they go in expecting it. They go in looking for it. They go in, you know, trying to conjure something like that. And, you know, and that even goes beyond confirmation bias. This is like, this is way off the rails. And there's a line of thought that says, well, they're kind of creating their own situation there.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's what and that's the line of thought right now. I know that when we go there and collect our data, we get interactive stuff all the time. We've had cameras get picked up and thrown down steps. We've had all kinds of weirdness happen to us. And the only place I've ever really seen a true apparition. No, the second place I've seen a true apparition was there. And it looked like I was looking at you, Carl. As a matter of fact, he had that same color hair and beard and mustache and everything. And he was standing like 20 feet away from me. And then when I ran at him with a flashlight, he got real wide-eyed and ran down the hallway. Now, I've never seen that anywhere else. But, that right there, I think, the line of thought is that they're creating that situation there. The people that are going there.
I was going to say, it wasn't me. It was not me, just to be clear on it.
Well,
Are you sure?
If you look at stone tape, maybe it could have been you in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a big proponent of the stone tape theory. I'm more of a magnetic field theory. But there is a guy named Brandon Masulo that actually is talking about how all of our brains generate a certain magnetic field, and how all that can be connected over time, over space, different all over the world. And if we're tuned just right, like twins, the whole twin thing is the same thing. Where like my wife's a twin. And when her sister has a big pain, my wife feels it, and vice versa. So that kind of thing might be happening too. I'm a little concerned that people, if the theory comes to fruition, that people are creating this stuff, that they're not going to be able to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And that's a belief of my part. Like I said, that's a theory. I don't have any hard data on this. So don't you all be yelling at me on Facebook.
Now, now that's your belief, where if someone else has the belief that they can exercise them or get rid of them, they'll be able to. We're not going to be stuck with them.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
And back to the comment with the twins, goes back to what Julie's was saying about the one conscious. Everything's connected.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating book. It's the ghost. It's called The Ghost Study. And the guy who wrote it, his name's Brandon Masulo. He actually has a degree in parapsychology from Edinburgh. And the guy I've hung out with him several times, and we talk about this stuff at length. And his theory is all around that whole connection of the magnetic field. He has an example of that he uses where there was during the Battle of Gettysburg, there was a guy got hit and killed, and right at the same time that he got hit and killed, his mother in Illinois felt it and knew something was wrong immediately at the same exact time. And he seems, and in his theory is that because they were tuned, because their mother and son, that they're all the across the magnetic fields like that. So that's one of the studies that he's got, and it's real interesting to hear that theory.
Yeah, and that's not the only time you hear something like that. I mean, I've experienced that with my own child. Being in a room, like a kid's play place, and that you have like 500 kids running around, and I knew that my kid was at the top of this like play structure, screaming her head off. She was terrified to climb down or go down the slide. Out of all those kids, I just knew. And my friend who was with me, because I was pregnant with my son, I said, "Can you go and see if Noelle is over there crying?" Because I know I like heard her out of this whole room of kids. And she looks at me like, and I was like, "Please just go." And she wouldn't go. So I was like, "Just come with me." So she comes with me, and there's my child way up at the top crying because she was terrified. She's like, "How did you hear her?" I'm like, "I just knew." It's like, it's little things like that. Yeah, it's your mother's intuition. What?
Yep, absolutely.
Magnets, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just, you just have this like knowing.
It's even more. It's like, how we're connected, or a lot of people believe we have the silver cord connecting us to life. So mothers and their children are connected by a symbiotic cord, It's almost like a heartstring, kind of like the umbilical cord. It's invisible, but it's a very real thing. We just can't see it with our physical eyes. So that's part of it. And it's kind of like twins are connected like that too.
I would like to see an experiment on that done. How mothers or parents in general are connected to their children in that way, because it's a very real thing. And I think any parent, almost any parent you speak to, has had some kind of experience like that or similar. And again, it's an experience that we're having. So I don't know. I would like to really see something done on that and a whole bunch of data collected.
Well,
I really would.
Yeah, Ryan, I think looked at something like that.
Did
Ryan
they?
is the Ryan Institute.
Yeah.
I know that DOPS has looked at something like that in the past too. They're all about NDE right now. That's their whole their whole thing right now. But they've looked at something like that in the past. It's fascinating though. I mean, as a father, I don't have that connection.
I think
And
I think all parents do.
I think you do.
I haven't felt it.
Being a father of 4, my 2 youngest ones, I was the first one to hold them after they're born, and I have a stronger connection with them too than my older 2. And there's been moments where I've known things that were going on with my sons before I got the phone call or before something was brought to my attention. I don't think it's just with the mother; it's with the parent. It's how you energy connects to them still, and how you keep that bridge and that bond open.
Yeah,
I like my daughter says I'm cold, but no, it's a lot of it. My wife will know immediately if something's wrong with my daughter, immediately, and it takes me a minute. But then again, I'm an old curmudgeon too, so
not to pick on you
anymore.
Not to pick on you, but with being so science minded, I've noticed with other people that are similar that they don't rely on the intuition anymore. They kind of shut it off.
Yeah,
it's all about numbers and data. It's not about the feelings. It's perfectly okay if that's the way you want to live, but you have to be able to acknowledge that
it's hard to balance.
It is.
I have found that with me, because when I'm investigating, I am very scientific, but I also have that part of me that is also very intuitive. And so it's really hard to balance the two sides.
It is.
And and we don't live in a society that really supports that intuition.
Yep. It's come a long way.
It's come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
In the 80s, a child in the 80s going, you don't talk about this out in public because if they do, they're going to think you're a Satan worshiper or something. You don't tell them none of this. And one day it'll be open, but just now is not the time.
That's right. They'll burn you at the stake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Oh, my family's still like, no, you can't talk about this around here. Okay.
I mean, in where I'm from in West Virginia, they have the whole white witch thing, and my great grandmother was one of those, and you just didn't talk about it. You knew she did stuff, but you didn't talk about it. And I mean, things like burying a buckeye in somebody's yard because you didn't like them and give them bad luck, kind of thing.
Not a white witch. That's a dark witch.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, she knew about that stuff, and she could heal people, which I found fascinating. That's all stuff I have. Of course, I haven't heard about that for a very long time. It's been a while. Of course, I haven't been in West Virginia for 18 years now. But it's. I remember growing up around that, and the belief structure, if the people would come into her and they firmly believed that she could do what she could do, she could heal them. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed about that.
Well, it's the same today. Like if you have a chronic illness, and you believe that you're going to beat it, most of the time you will.
Yeah.
Right. But if you go in and you're kind of like, I just don't know, I mean, even doctors are saying, listen, your mindset plays a huge role in how this is going to play out.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean,
They
it's
talk about in the book The Secret about it. How there's
Mhm.
2 women with cancer diagnosed, same
Yep.
thing. One went home and did Poor Pitiful Me, and one went home and laughed and watched comedies with her
Yep.
family. Guess what? The one
Yep.
that laughed and watched the comedies with her family lasted longer and recovered from it, where the
Mhm.
other one ended that illness ended up taking her.
Yeah.
So again, back to your mindset and what you allow
Yeah.
in your
Yep.
circle, in your bubble.
And I think,
Very important.
Brad, like with your grandmother, you have the recipient has to be open to accepting the energy healing.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
they're open to
Yep.
it works.
And and I
100%.
have no idea what the mechanism is there, but my problem is the way my mindset is, like you were talking about, Rez. My mindset is such that I might not be able to receive that kind of thing. But I did actually see, we had people that had arthritis in our family, and my great grandmother laid on hands, and that rheumatoid where their hand was all crooked like that,
Mhm.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all, you can't help, and you have to think as a scientist, you have to think, well, was that from them? Is that psychosomatic, or what did that? And that's one of the things that I would really love to get into, but
She was channeling energy from her.
Yeah.
well,
The
and that's
Creator
entirely
gave us
possible.
all the ability to heal ourselves
Yeah.
and heal others around us, as long as you believe and do the work.
And I
You
think
know,
for us, it's, I would like to see the mechanism, how that works, but that's just my mindset.
Oh, yeah.
The and you got to think, at DOPS, Division of Perceptual Studies, they run studies on. They used to run studies on things just like this, and that kind of thing. So they have a reams of data about that. They have a library too in Charlottesville. If you ever get a chance to get out there,
nice.
of nothing but this kind of stuff.
That's
It's
awesome.
Nice.
amazing.
Wow.
And but anyway, I'm sorry, I digress.
So we have about 10 more minutes left. We have, with the 4 of you, I want you, each one of you, to go through and just tell everybody where they can find you, and or what you have coming up next that maybe you can share with everybody.
Okay. Well, Bobby Resident Calkins. You can find me on Facebook, a little bit on TikTok. I do have an Instagram. Don't really use it. Email redroadparanormal@gmail.com or resneck inc at gmail.com. You can catch me every Tuesday night live at 9 p.m. Central on YouTube for Red Road Paranormal. That's my show. And then this summer, I will be down in New Orleans for the NOLA Paracon. And then also I'll be out in Massachusetts in October for the Mass Paracon. And if you're up in the Wisconsin area in June, I'll be at the Bearded Brawl at Broadhead Manor. So come on out and find me.
All right.
And Carl?
Sounds good. Yeah. So I coming up, well, other than next week, I'll be in St. Louis and probably spending my nights out in the woods up there. But I will, at the end of July, if you're so interested in a trip to Arizona, I will be assisting on the BFRO's 2026 expedition in Arizona here. So, and I think there's still slots open. So just go out to bfro.net and look up expeditions, and you'll see the link for Arizona if you want to sign up for that. The other
I have
thing,
some
let's
of
see,
your some of your links I'm going to put in the
oh,
comments.
okay, excellent, perfect.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a ton of links. So, yeah, I actually wrote a chapter in a book called "Help Me, I'm Haunted." That's out on Amazon. And it's really more of a self-help guide to people trying to explain these things are happening to me. How do I deal with these? And so it's a very good book. And then I'm also, like I said, I am the narrator for the documentary The Sometime Place. So and I also will be in it as well. But like that documentary is going to change the entire Bigfoot field and hopefully a lot of mindsets and paradigms out there for people. The other thing is that I had previously collected some blood samples that I believe came from a Sasquatch, as I followed a trackway a quarter mile, and those blood samples are currently getting DNA tested, and those results will be showcased in Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2.
Wow.
That will be
Nice.
produced sometime this year. So, and that'll
Okay,
be a
that's a
full
lot.
genome, full trait workup as well.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
Nice.
Okay.
yeah,
Very
you want hard
cool.
science, Brad? There you go.
That's what I'm looking for.
Go ahead,
Go
Julie.
ahead, Julie.
Okay. So I'm going to be with my partner that I do physical mediumship with in Adrian, Michigan. We're going to be at Lilydale. We're sold out there for our physical medium seances, but we're teaching classes in Lilydale. And we'll be in Santa Barbara, California, Labor Day weekend. And we're always, I'm going to be doing a new show on spiritual realms. We're just getting that organized. So that's going to be where you can tap on and get free readings. And my book I just wrote, it's just coming out. Look for the book trailer. This is the story about the UAP, the experience, all of just my story on how I became a physical medium. And there's also 15 documented word for word phenomena seances that are in this book. And there's places for you to feel and write what you're experiencing as you're reading these. So
Nice.
my website is Julie Adriani, Spirit Medium, and I have a media page, and there's lots of transfiguration photos. Brad, you probably don't want to go on it because you'll probably be afraid, very afraid, because I'm a transfiguration medium, so my face can totally change into maybe one of your loved ones, one of the ascended masters. And there's lots of photos. I love spirit photography, and I'm a researcher in my field because I have documented seances for the last 8 years in the light and recorded and have recordings of what people have experienced. So I'm documenting in my own way.
Awesome.
All right. For us, my organization is the Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation, and we're very prolific on Facebook. I mean, we anytime we're going to be anywhere, it's on there. But also we post data on there, we post analysis results on there and things like that, so people can see what we do. A lot of times we're not allowed to say where we are, but because it might be a government facility, or it might be whatever organization may not want us to advertise it. But you can go there, and you can see us, Center for Paranormal Research and Investigation, on Facebook. You can search for that, you'll find us. And also we have our website is centerpri.org, and there you can see information on our board of directors and board of visitors, and then see how we operate. And we're actually going to be all over the place doing lectures in Virginia, Central Virginia. But also we're going to be at the next big thing we're going to be at outside of Virginia is Dragon Con in Atlanta. So yeah, you should come down, Tiffany.
Yeah. And
I'm
going to try.
We're going to be there on the X track. And we'll probably be doing around four or five panels or lectures. Okay. And then we're also we'll probably be back at GalaxyCon after that. That's in the spring. And we tend to only do a few major cons like that. The Paragon people don't normally like us. So, which is sad. But
too much data.
Yeah, but we tend, and when you go to the big like Dragon Con or Galaxy Con or something like that, they seem to appreciate it quite a bit.
That's good.
But that's where you're going to see us. We're on a ton of podcasts. Like I said, we're going to be on an episode of Weird World Adventures on season 3. That's on Amazon Prime. Okay. And then we're going to just look around. You might see us just about anywhere. So And we have papers currently up on academia.edu too. So that's it.
Ooh, I spelled weird wrong. You guys know how my spelling goes, though, so
Yeah.
I'll fix that in the comments later after the show. I'm sorry about that. I thought I got that R.
You got a bad R key there.
All of my keys are bad. It's me. It's user error.
Yep.
Well, we hope that Heather is feeling better and that she can join us again next week. Next week, we will be with Rick Wade, and so that is going to be super fun. If you guys want to catch this episode again, you can always find us on Facebook. I know Facebook is taking down lives after like so many weeks.
30 days, I think.
Is it 30 days?
30 days,
now?
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, you can always catch us over here on YouTube as well, because we go live on both. Just click the little live tab and you will find us. And thank you all for being on tonight. It was a fantastic and just fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed talking with each and every one of you and meeting you, Julie, and you, Carl. Just thank you. Thank you so much. And I really hope that each one of you can come back on sometime.
Anytime.
Oh,
Sure
absolutely.
thing.
It's always my honor.
Nice meeting all of you.
Yeah,
Yep, nice meeting you guys.
meeting you all. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks.
And we will be back next week with Rick Wade, everybody. So until then,
Bye-bye.
we'll see you. Good night.
Bye-bye.